What is up, Flick fans? Welcome back to my channel. This video is going to move a bit quicker than it normally does just because we have a few things to take care of today, but today we're talking box office. Movies hitting milestones, films dropping on their opening weekend and underperforming, all of those things we're going to talk about, but of course, I need you guys in the comments. What did you guys end up seeing in the theaters? Which movie surprised you this weekend? And are you happy with the milestone that Joker hit? We're going to talk about that here in just a second, but first we need to talk about the new releases that were not in the top 5 on the weekend, and the first one is a film that I actually did not get a chance to see, and that is The Good Liar, coming in with $5.6 million. The Good Liar came in at 7th place, making $9.5 million worldwide, and like I said, $5.6 million domestically on a budget of $10 million, so we're not going to go too far past the budget. The film probably isn't going to be profitable once you include marketing, but it made its budget back, or it will make its budget back, so not all that big of a loss, but it still didn't do all that well at the box office, coming in 7th place. Now, here's something I do want to hit on before we start talking about these other films. Last year, this exact week, here were the top movies at the box office. $62 million at number 1, $38 million, $16 million, $14 million, $12 million. Pretty good weekend box office-wise. This year, the numbers are significantly lower, the majority of them coming in at half of what these numbers were, maybe even less than that. And even though our number 1 film did exceed expectations, everything else is just coming in short, falling a bit flat. Now, what say you guys? What is the reasoning behind why people aren't showing up? Is it just the fact that the movies aren't as good this year? Or is it something else? It was kind of the launch of Disney Plus. We have a lot of streaming things going on, other movies that people are watching elsewhere. But I'm just curious as to why this is. Okay, let's talk about some other films. We talked about Honey Boy last week. It's starting to look like it was a bit front-loaded as it expanded into 17 theaters this weekend, but dropped 30%, only making $12,000 per theater, so $210,000 with $584,000 total. We talked about how solid that was last weekend in that small amount of theaters, but it looks like everybody who wanted to see it saw it. I'm excited for that film. I cannot wait to see Honey Boy, and I do believe it's dropping on Amazon Prime at some point, maybe? I don't know. I want to see it. We also have Parasite, another independent film we were talking about, dropping just 25% from last weekend. Another $1.9 million in its 6th weekend, $14 million total in the United States. Pretty good for what that movie was going for and the intended audience, absolutely. And before we get into these top films, Terminator Dark Fate, just crashing, burning in its 3rd weekend, another 60% drop with just $4.3 million, $56 million total domestically for a Terminator movie, one of the biggest box office bombs of the year. Okay, let's get a bit positive. Let's start with number 8, because we've already talked about Maleficent enough. Let's talk about Joker. And Joker did it. We've been talking about it for weeks. It's been pushing the boundaries every single weekend, and it finally passed that point. Joker made another $5.6 million this weekend. It is now at $1,016 million worldwide, $322 domestically, $694 overseas, and oh yeah, not even including China, because this film will not be released in China. We're talking about a box office haul this big without one of the biggest territories, and I've said it every week, I'm going to say it again, just so impressive. Let's take a look at where it is on the all-time ranking. And as of now, Joker, an R-rated film, is the number 43 movie of all time box office-wise. And hey, look at that movie. It just topped. That's The Dark Knight. It is expected to top The Hobbit, Zootopia, possibly Alice in Wonderland. Guys, this movie could keep chugging. Now, it is slowing down to a point to where we are almost finished, but my goodness, guys, $1 billion to be in the top 50 movies of all time for an R-rated film. I'm telling you, studios are watching, they are listening to see what they should do with movies in this vein. And this, to me, gives the green light for any movie like that. That was 8. We already talked about The Good Liar at number 7. At number 6, right outside of the top 5 this week, is Dr. Sleep. After 2 weeks and the fact that it got praised critically, Dr. Sleep is, It's not doing all that well. In its second weekend, it fell 56%, $6.1 million, and only $25 million total. What does that say for those who maybe haven't seen The Shining? And the fact that The Shining didn't do all that well at the box office either. Now it's a cult classic. Could this end up in the same vein? Regardless, I'm disappointed because I really enjoyed the film. Okay, let's get into the top 5. And at number 5 is Last Christmas. Last Christmas made an estimated $6.7 million, pushing it to $22.6 after 10 days in release. Internationally, it added $8.6 million for $35.5 million total. Not too shabby, and the fact that we are going to keep chugging because we're getting closer and closer to Christmas. It also held up pretty well with only a 41% drop. Next up, at number 4, is Playing with Fire, but my goodness, this drop is ridiculous. Playing with Fire only had a 33% drop for an estimated $8.55 million total, and it moved it up one spot, actually, from last weekend. And here's the thing, they're saying once the actual numbers come in, because of course these are just the estimated numbers on a Sunday, they're saying it could move up even higher, maybe one more spot. So right now it's at $25.4 million domestically. It's a pretty big hit, a small hit, but for what they were expecting and for its budget and the fact that, you know, it's not a movie that everyone loved, obviously. Kudos, man. Kudos for this movie. I like seeing that for the actors. If you guys didn't see my review on Patreon, you can check it out to see how I felt about the actual film. At number 3, Charlie's Angels. Charlie's Angels on its opening weekend brought in $8.6 million. Now, obviously, this is not the first Charlie's Angels, and it's so close, it's still competing for second place. Once again, the estimates, this could shift, but pretty accurate as to what they're probably going to end up earning. They were originally expecting it to finish from $12 to $13 million, but it just could not quite get to that double-digit haul. It's a $48 million budgeted production, a B cinema score, not all that great, and globally, it's made $27.9 million, so obviously a disappointment for the studio. They wanted more, for sure. This kind of cancels any plans they have for the future of this franchise because this is technically the third film. Regardless, Charlie's Angels did not show up to play my reviews on this channel right now. At number 2 is actually Midway, dropping 51% in its second weekend with $8.7 million. You guys see how close these numbers are. They could shift easily. And Midway has actually chugged along to bring in $35 million domestically, $53 million worldwide as its total. Still not really measuring up to the massive budget of the film, so I don't know if it's going to be profitable, but it's still making more money than I thought it was going to make, being a Roland Emmerich film, and audiences have actually really enjoyed it so far, so we'll see how much they stick around next weekend. Okay, number 1 at the box office this weekend is Ford v. Ferrari, racing in, because we're doing puns today, with $31 million domestically, which actually lived up to and kind of surpassed this weekend's expectations. And the cinema score was an A+. That is fantastic. That means people are going to continue to go back to this movie. I have a feeling we are in for a very small drop next weekend. And internationally, it brought in $21.4 million, meaning $52 million as its global debut, on a budget of about $100 million. So we've made half of our budget back in one weekend, and it's looking like the drop is not going to be too significant next weekend. Granted, we have Frozen 2, which is going to be a box office juggernaut, but it's a very different audience. So I'm interested to see if Ford v. Ferrari can stay in that top 2. If it can stay at number 2 and have a smaller drop, maybe 40-ish%, below 40% would be fantastic. This movie is definitely going to make its budget back. It's not going to be super profitable, but a pretty good performance for a movie that I believe deserves it. I loved the film. I think a lot of people are going to have a great time with it. You can see from the cinema score, A+ is fantastic, even though I don't look too deeply into cinema score, but people enjoyed it for what it was, for sure. And that's the big story this weekend, guys. Ford v. Ferrari exceeding expectations. Joker finally hitting that mark. Charlie's Angels massively underperforming. Maleficent has a cool name. I like to continue to say it. So many things to talk about. And next weekend, like I said, Frozen 2 is going to just rake in the money, and I think it's going to exceed even those expectations. A Beautiful Day in the Neighborhood is coming in 3,100 theaters, and then, of course, 21 Bridges in 2,700 theaters. Not going to make a ton of money, but it has the Russo brothers' name attached to it, and pretty big stars in there as well. I did not have a ton of time to prepare box office predictions for next week, and I know I promised that in this video, but we have some family things going on as I'm filming this video, so I'm going to get to that, but I leave you all with this. Thank you so much for your support with everything. Thank you for watching this video, and like I said, I need your comments below, and if you enjoyed this video and you want me to keep this video series up every single Sunday, sometimes Monday, but mostly Sunday, hit that thumbs up button. It helps out this channel. It helps out this video. You guys are truly the best. We'll see you soon.